I want you to picture um, a military encampment in the 18th century.
Okay, setting the scene.
Yeah, right. It's loud, it's chaotic, the air is just thick with smoke and damp earth, and there's this palpable, heavy anxiety everywhere.
I can imagine.
And right in the middle of all that, you have Frederick the Great, the King of Prussia, and he's stepping into his tent after this brutally long day.
Right.
But, and this is the fascinating part, he's not pulling out a map of enemy territories.
Right.
He's not looking at, like, a ledger of troop numbers or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, he reaches for this tiny, battered little manual.
A book he literally carried with him in his pocket.
Exactly. On every single military campaign. So welcome to today's deep dive. Today, we're looking at a text that has been, honestly, a secret weapon for independent thinkers for 2 millennia.
It really has.
And we are aiming it directly at the challenges you face in the later chapters of life. So your 50s, 60s, and beyond.
Yeah, it really is a text that pops up in the most high-stakes, stressful places throughout history. Like, you'll find it on the shelves of the philosopher Montaigne, you know, and in the hands of independent intellectuals trying to survive absolute despots. Yeah. And, of course, in the pockets of modern leaders, it's the Enchiridion, which translates simply to manual or handbook.
Just manual.
Yeah.
I love how unassuming that is. And, you know, the backstory of the author is just the perfect setup for the philosophy itself.
Oh, absolutely.
We were talking about Epictetus. And just to give you the lightning-fast context, because I know you probably heard the name, he wasn't a wealthy aristocrat writing from some, comfortable ivory tower.
Not at all.
Right. He was born a slave in the 1st century, ended up serving in Emperor Nero's court of all places, and eventually earned his freedom.
Which is an incredible trajectory.
It is.
Yeah.
And he became a teacher so brilliant that when he was later exiled to Greece, future emperors and statesmen actually flocked to his school. Like, they traveled all that way just to hear him speak.
Exactly. I mean, he lived a life of ultimate extremes, from having literally 0 legal rights to advising the most powerful people on earth. Yeah. And his students, they didn't want to lose the wit and the grace of his informal chats, so they took shorthand notes. And those eventually got distilled into this tiny manual. It's basically a handbook for the combat officer of life.
The combat officer of life. That's so good.
Right. But what's fascinating here is that while Epictetus was, speaking to ancient Romans, his core philosophy offers what is arguably the most robust framework ever designed for navigating massive life transitions.
Which is exactly our mission today.
Yeah.
We are taking Epictetus's central teaching and mapping it directly onto the messy, emotional realities of getting older.
The stuff we all have to face eventually.
Exactly. We're talking about navigating retirement, dealing with the frustrating physical changes of an aging body, surviving the profound loss of loved ones, and, well, figuring out how to think about our own legacy.
Huge topics.
Massive. So, okay, let's unpack this from the ground up. Before we talk about retirement or aging, we need the foundation. What is the absolute non-negotiable rule of this entire manual?
Well, it all boils down to one very strict, very ruthless dividing line.
Okay.
It's called the dichotomy of control. And the very first sentence of the manual establishes the rule for literally everything that follows.
Which is?
He says there are things within our power, and there are things beyond our power.
I mean, on the surface, that just sounds like common sense, right?
It does, yeah.
But I know stoicism takes this to a pretty extreme level. So what exactly goes into the within our power bucket?
A very, very small list, actually.
Really?
Yeah. According to Epictetus, the only things truly within our power are our own internal affairs. So our opinions, our aims, our desires, and our aversions.
Okay, so just internal stuff.
Basically, yes. Your conscious choices and your judgments about the world. And that is it.
Wait, hold on. That's it? Just my opinions and desires? So if those are the internal affairs, what does he put in the beyond our power bucket?
Literally everything else.
Everything.
Everything. Your body, your property, your reputation, and your office, which in modern terms means your job or your status. He categorizes all of those as weak, dependent, restricted, and most importantly, alien, meaning they aren't truly yours.
Okay. That is a hard pill to swallow.
It is, and this is the core mechanism of his philosophy. He warns that if you mix these two categories up, like if you trick yourself into thinking that external things actually belong to you, you are going to spend your life lamenting.
Because you're trying to control the uncontrollable.
Exactly. He says you will be constantly disturbed and you will find fault with both gods and men.
See, I want to push back on this right away, because here's where it gets really interesting for a modern listener.
Go for it.
Let's look at someone who is, say, 62 years old.
Okay.
They have spent 40 years sweating, stressing, and bleeding to build a career. They've climbed the corporate ladder, they've earned a title, they've built a stellar reputation in their community.
Sure, they've worked incredibly hard.
Right. And society tells us, you are what you do. But now they are facing retirement. And for a lot of ambitious people, stepping down doesn't feel like a transition. It feels like an amputation.
Oh, absolutely.
It feels like losing a literal piece of their identity. So how do they just accept that this job wasn't theirs?
Well, that pain, that feeling of amputation, that is exactly what Epictetus is trying to cure.
Oh, so?
The pain comes directly from the delusion of ownership. Because you worked hard for the career, you naturally think you own the career. You think the office is yours.
Right, because I earned it.
But the truth is, your job, your title, the way your industry perceives you, none of that was ever fully in your control. The market could crash.
Correct.
The company could be sold tomorrow. A younger executive could replace you. Your career was always, from day one, on the other side of that dividing line.
Okay, so to put it in modern terms, it's kind of like playing a massively multiplayer video game.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah, so you completely control the controller, right? Your button mashes, your strategy, your attitude. That's your internal power.
Right.
But you do not control the game's source code. You don't control the server crashing, and you certainly don't control what the other players do. So Epictetus is basically saying, stop screaming at the TV because a server lagged, and realize you only ever own the controller.
That is a perfect analogy. You only own the controller. And to help us accept this, Epictetus offers this brilliant metaphor of his own for navigating this exact phase of life.
Let's hear it.
He says you must behave in life as you do at a banquet.
A banquet.
Yeah. Imagine you are seated at a feast and the host is passing dishes around the table. Epictetus says, is something brought round to you? Put out your hand and take a moderate share.
Okay, sounds reasonable.
Does it pass by you? Do not stop it. Is it not yet come? Do not yearn in desire toward it, but wait until it reaches you.
So if we apply this to retirement, the career, the title, the corner office that was just a dish.
Exactly. For 30 or 40 years, the career dish was sitting right in front of you, and you took a moderate share, and you enjoyed it.
I ate a lot from that dish.
We all do. But now the feast is moving on. The host is passing that dish down the table to someone else, to the next generation.
But I feel like the modern instinct, especially for high achievers, is to grab the dish and hoard the potatoes.
Right.
Like we want to wrestle the waiter to keep the plate in front of us.
We do, and that is exactly why retirement can feel so agonizing. If you cling to the dish as it moves away, you ruin the feast for yourself.
Oh, that makes sense.
You get bitter, you feel obsolete. But if you just let the dish pass gracefully, you free up your hands to accept whatever the next course is going to be.
Wow.
Retiring isn't a loss of identity because that office was never your actual identity to begin with. Your internal affairs, your ability to be a good friend, a wise mentor, an engaged citizen, those are still entirely in your control. The banquet isn't over, you're just on the next course.
Man, that makes profound sense. It completely neutralizes the sting of stepping away from a career.
It really does.
But okay, let's shift gears here. Because if I can accept that I don't own my job, it's a lot harder to accept that I don't own the vessel that actually does the job. Let's talk about the body.
Ah, the body.
You said earlier that Epictetus puts the body in the not in our control bucket. And I have to challenge that a little bit.
Go ahead.
If I go to the gym 5 days a week, if I eat my leafy greens, if I don't smoke, aren't I controlling my body?
Well, you are controlling your effort.
My effort.
Yes, you are controlling your choices, which are internal, but you do not control the ultimate outcome of the body.
I see what you mean.
You can eat all the leafy greens in the world and still get a genetic diagnosis at age 55, right? You can run marathons and still slip on the ice and shatter your hip.
Yeah, that's true.
The mechanism of control here is recognizing that the body is subject to disease, to gravity, and ultimately to aging. We just don't get to dictate the terms of our physical existence.
And as we get into our 60s and 70s, that reality hits really hard. The aches, the sudden realization that you can't hike like you used to, the chronic conditions. We spend so much mental energy being furious at our own joints for betraying us.
It's exhausting. And to cure that fury, Epictetus uses another really striking metaphor, this time from the theater.
Okay. He says to remember that you are an actor in a drama. And the key here is you are not the playwright.
I am not the playwright.
Right. You don't write the script. The author chooses the play. If the author wants a short play, it's short. And if it's his pleasure that you play the role of a ruler, a private citizen, or a cripple, to use the ancient translation, your business is simply to act the given part to the absolute best of your ability.
That is a massive paradigm shift. Because right now, the modern world, and specifically the multi-billion-dollar anti-aging industry, tells us the exact opposite.
Oh, completely.
We are told we are the playwrights. Like, if you don't want to play the role of a 60-year-old, just buy the right face creams, get the right surgeries, take the right hormone supplement, and you can just rewrite the script.
It leaves us exhausted from fighting our own age.
I'm so exhausted.
And Epictetus has a perfect image for this exhausting trap of the anti-aging obsession. He talks about the foot being the measure of the shoe.
The foot is the measure of the shoe. What does that mean? He says your body is the measure of its possessions, just like a foot is the measure for a shoe. If you focus on what actually fits the foot and serves its purpose, you maintain the right measure.
Right, a comfortable walking shoe.
Exactly. But if you move beyond what is natural and functional, he says you start sliding down a precipice. First, you demand a gilded shoe.
Okay.
Then a purple shoe. Then a shoe studded with jewels.
Because there is no logical endpoint.
Exactly.
Once you stop caring about what simply fits and functions for the season of life you are in, you're just chasing an illusion. The gilded shoe is basically mortgaging your peace of mind to look 35 when you're 65.
Precisely. And look, this doesn't mean you just give up.
Right.
A good actor still rehearses, still warms up their voice, still gives a brilliant performance. You still go to the gym and eat well. But a good actor doesn't throw a tantrum on stage because they were cast as the wise elder instead of the 20-year-old romantic lead.
That is such a good way to look at it.
Epictetus explicitly writes, "Sickness is an impediment to the body, but not to the will. A physical limitation only damages your core self if you choose to let it ruin your peace of mind."
It really is liberating when you view it like that.
It is.
Okay, so we've returned the career to the universe, and we are learning to accept the physical role we've been assigned. But what about the people we love?
Yeah, the hardest part.
Because as we age, we don't just face our own physical decline. We inevitably face the profound loss of the people around us. Friends pass away. Spouses get sick. This philosophy seems so austere. How does it handle the gut-wrenching reality of grief?
Well, this is where Epictetus delivers what might be his most jarring and honestly initially difficult truth.
Brace me.
He starts small. He says, if you have a favorite cup, remind yourself that it is just a piece of pottery that you were fond of. That way, when it breaks, you can bear it.
Okay, I can follow that. I drop my favorite coffee mug, I sweep up the ceramic, I remind myself it's just clay, and I move on. No big deal.
But then he scales it up immediately. He says, if you embrace your child or your wife, remind yourself that you embrace a mortal. And thus, if either of them dies, you can bear it.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Okay, what does this all mean? Because, I have to be completely honest here, my instinct is to reject that entirely.
Most people's instinct is.
That sounds incredibly cold, almost sociopathic, honestly.
Yeah.
Are we seriously supposed to love our spouses, our kids, our closest friends the same way we love a coffee mug?
Yeah.
Just completely detached, waiting for them to shatter.
It's a very natural reaction to feel pushed away by that passage, but this raises an important question about what true love actually looks like.
Okay, explain.
Epictetus is not arguing for detachment. He is arguing that our deepest suffering and grief comes from the illusion of ownership. We think our loved ones belong to us. We say, my husband, my wife, my friend, and we subconsciously believe they are our property.
Which violates the very first rule.
Yeah.
They are external. They are not in our power.
Exactly. And because we think we own them, when they die, we feel like we've been robbed. We get angry at the universe. We feel this profound sense of injustice, as if a thief broke into our house.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
But Epictetus offers a complete reframe of how we view loss. He says, never say of anything, I have lost it, but rather, I have restored it.
Restored it.
Has your child died? They are restored. Has your wife died? She is restored. Has your estate been taken? That is restored too.
Wow, restored. The mechanism there is completely different from lost.
How so?
Well, if I lose something, I failed.
Or
I was victimized, right? But if I restore something, it implies a completed natural transaction.
Yes.
It makes me think of, like, staying in an absolutely incredible Airbnb or renting a beautiful beach house for a week.
Okay, I see where you're going.
You love the house, you take care of it, you enjoy every sunrise there. But you don't weep uncontrollably when you hand the keys back on Sunday because you always knew it wasn't yours.
That is the perfect modern equivalent. Epictetus actually uses a very similar metaphor of travelers staying at an inn.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The innkeeper provides a warm bed and a roof. You enjoyed immensely while you were there, but you don't claim ownership of the room. The secret of the Stoic approach to relationships isn't about loving less so you don't get hurt. It's about loving truer.
I see that now. There is actually a hidden warmth in that austerity.
There really is.
If I wake up every morning and look at the people I love and I actively remind myself they are mortals, they are on loan to me from the universe, I am absolutely not going to take them for granted.
Exactly.
I'm not going to pick stupid fights over the dishwasher. I'm going to appreciate them so much more deeply today because I know I don't own tomorrow.
You clear away all the anxiety and the grasping, and you are just left with pure appreciation for the present moment. And then, when the universe does eventually ask for them back, you suffer less resentment because you aren't being robbed. You are simply returning a precious, beautiful loan.
That is incredibly powerful. Which I guess naturally brings us to the ultimate test of this entire framework.
Yes, the final curtain.
We've talked about gracefully returning our careers, making peace with our aging bodies, and restoring our loved ones to the universe. But eventually, the universe asked for us back. We have to confront our own mortality. How does a Stoic face the end of the play?
He addresses this with what I think is one of his most beautiful and practical images, especially for people in their later decades. He compares life to a voyage.
A voyage, okay.
You are a passenger on a ship, and the ship has dropped anchor at a port. The captain says you can go ashore to stretch your legs and get some water.
Nice.
And while you are walking on the beach, you might amuse yourself by picking up a pretty shellfish or maybe a little truffle you find in the sand.
The shellfish and the truffle, I love this. What do those represent?
They represent all the external things we busy ourselves with. Our hobbies, our bank accounts, our status symbols, our golf handicaps, the arguments we get into on social media.
Oh man, the HOAs we fight with.
Exactly, the things we spend decades collecting on the beach. And Epictetus says there is no objection to picking them up. Enjoy the truffles.
Right, he's not saying you have to live in a cave and be miserable.
Not at all. But he says even as you are holding these little treasures, your thoughts ought to be bent toward the ship.
Bent toward the ship.
You must be perpetually attentive, listening for the captain's call. Because when the captain calls, you have to drop all those things and run to the ship without looking behind you. Otherwise, you'll have to be dragged on board, bound like a sheep.
Meaning, if you are too attached to your truffles, you will die in terror just clinging to your stuff.
Exactly. You'll be fighting the inevitable. And he gives a very specific instruction for older age. He writes, "But if you are old, never go far from the ship, lest you should be missing when called for."
Never go far from the ship. What does that look like in practical terms for someone in their 70s or 80s?
It means auditing your mental and emotional energy. You shouldn't be starting massive, stressful, ego-driven enterprises that require 10 years to pay off.
Right.
You shouldn't be wandering miles down the beach, getting embroiled in petty neighborhood feuds, or obsessing over accumulating one more luxury car. You must be emotionally packed and ready.
Wow.
You can still hold the truffles, absolutely, but you must hold them lightly, knowing you could be called at any moment.
And if you do that, then the call itself isn't frightening. Epictetus points out that death itself is nothing terrible, right? Because if it were inherently terrible, great people like Socrates would have been terrified of it, and he wasn't.
Yes, the terror is entirely in our notion of death.
Our opinion of it.
Precisely. If we see it as a horrible theft of our truffles, we will fight it and be dragged to the ship in agony.
Yeah.
But if we see it as just the captain calling us back aboard, we can drop the shells, turn around, and walk gracefully up the gangplank.
It is just remarkable how this tiny manual from 2,000 years ago contains such a complete, practical map for the hardest parts of life.
It really is a masterpiece of psychological resilience.
We've looked at how to step back from the banquet of ambition and career without feeling obsolete. How to play our changing physical roles with grace without demanding the gilded shoes of youth.
Right.
How to view the heartbreaking loss of our loved ones as returning a beautiful loan. And finally, how to stay close to the ship as we get older, holding our earthly treasures with an open hand.
It's a reminder that true freedom isn't about controlling your environment or fighting the clock. It's a profound audit of how we spend our mental energy. It's about recognizing what is truly yours and gracefully releasing everything else.
So for you listening to this deep dive right now, think about the things causing you the most stress, anger, or anxiety today.
Good question to ask.
How much of that weight is tied to things entirely outside your power? Are you ruining the banquet by yearning for a dish that has already passed you by? Or maybe are you wandering way too far down the beach chasing a truffle, forgetting that you need to stay in earshot of the ship?
It's the ultimate question to ask yourself when you feel overwhelmed.
It really is. And we want to leave you with one final new thought to carry into your week. Think about the flip side of the dichotomy of control.
Oh, this is good.
If it's true that your reputation, your property, and your status are not actually yours, and therefore you shouldn't fear losing them, consider how incredibly liberating that makes your later years.
Absolutely liberating.
If you no longer fear the loss of your office or what society thinks of you, you suddenly become profoundly untouchable. You become free to just speak the absolute, unvarnished truth. Imagine the kind of bold, authentic, beautifully dangerous person you can be in your final decades when you finally realize you have absolutely nothing left to protect. How does knowing you don't own your reputation change the way you use your voice right now?